For today, lesson 27, we are focusing on comparing fractions using like denominators and tape diagrams. So on your problem set, you will be asked to compare using tape diagrams, or you will be asked to find a common denominator. I need table captains to silently, meaning at a level 0, get out a black expo marker for our next problem. With your group, you're going to convert the following mixed numbers into improper fractions. So we're going to practice that skill once again, doing whatever you may need to do. You may use the multiplication and addition method, or you can use the number bond method. Go ahead and work on these two together with your tables. Whenever you are done, come together as a group and the teacher will be around to check it. Go. For 3 3/8, you should have gotten 27/8 as your improper fraction. For 3 3/4, you should have gotten 15/4 for your improper fraction. So now I want us to think, how can we compare fractions? So we can sometimes compare fractions by thinking of the size of the units. So using those tape diagrams, or even just thinking, like going back to our last slide, okay, well, if I had eighths here and I had fourths here, well, I know fourths are bigger. And then we're using that deep thinking skills to compare using those size of those actual units. But today we're going to compare using common denominators. So let's look at those mixed numbers from the last slide. We are going to find a common denominator between both of them. So think in your head, what is a common denominator that they both share? What can I do to either this one or this one to change it into a new denominator? Well, I know that 4 is a factor of 8. So I know that I can convert these fourths into eighths. 4 times what equals 8? 2. So I'm going to be multiplying only this fraction part, not the whole number, just the fraction part. I'm going to be multiplying the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, because whatever I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. Whenever I do that, I get 3 6/8. So now I can accurately compare these mixed numbers without ever even drawing a picture. Because I can say, okay, 3 3/8, 3 6/8. Which would have more? So which one do you guys think is bigger? Well, 3/8 is less than 6/8. So going back to my two original fractions, I can say that 3 3/8 is less than 3 3/4, because I used that common denominator to see that 6/8 is the same thing as 3/4. 6/8 was bigger, which means 3 3/4 is larger than 3 3/8. So now let's compare two mixed numbers using tape diagrams. The first thing that I do when I'm comparing fractions is I look at that whole number. In this case, the whole number is the same. Let's say that this was a 2 and this was a 3. Well, comparing those would be really easy because I would never have to look at the fractions if 3 is larger, because I already know that 2 is less than 3. So for this problem, we have the whole numbers are the exact same, which forces us to look at these fractions to compare. So since I already know the whole numbers are the same, I don't need to draw tape diagrams for the whole numbers. I am just going to be focusing on those fractions. So go ahead with your group and draw tape diagrams to show 2/6 and show a tape diagram to show 3/12. Go. For your tape diagram, you should have one tape diagram split into sixths. You should have one tape diagram split into twelfths. Now I'm going to draw or shade in my 2 sixths and my 3 twelfths. Now I can compare which has more shaded in, the 2 sixths or the 3 twelfths. So for your equation, you should have 2 and 3 twelfths is less than 2 and 2 sixths. With your group, you are now going to try another one. Compare the two fractions using tape diagrams. For this one, notice that one is a mixed number and one is an improper fraction. So what you are going to have to do first is you are going to have to change this number into a mixed number. That will be your first step. Notice that 4 can't go into 5 and 5 can't go into 4. So you're going to have to find a common denominator or a multiple. So you are going to first convert the improper fraction to the mixed number, and then you are going to think, okay, what is a common denominator that they share? You will work on this as a group. I should see a tape diagram and the number sentence written when you are done come together as a group, and the teacher will be around to check your answers. Go. Alright, so let's go over the problem together. You should have gotten 4 and 3/5 whenever you converted this improper fraction into a mixed number. What is a common denominator or multiple that they both share? Well, good way to do this is just to do 4 times 5, because I know that those will both go into each other. 4 times 5 is 20. So I know I can change each of those denominators into 20. What do I have to do here to turn the 4 into a 20? I have to multiply it by 5. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 5. Over here, what do I have to do to turn 5 into 20? I have to multiply it by 4. Same with the top, so I will multiply the top and the bottom by 4. That is what you should have done. When you do that, 4 times 5 is 20, 3 times 5 is 15, and 5 times 4 is 20, and 3 times 4 is 12. So that is what your new numbers should look like whenever you have those common denominators. Now, whenever you find common denominators, do you need to necessarily draw a tape diagram? No, you don't, because I could compare these two right now and see which one is bigger, and I could go ahead and answer. But because our objective for today is to compare using tape diagrams, I am also going to have you draw a tape diagram for this. So for 4 and 15/20, your tape diagram should look like this. There should be 20 parts total and 15 should be shaded in. For 4 and 3/5 or 4 and 12/20, you should have 20 total parts, and then you should have 12 shaded in. So which is bigger? Well, I know that 12/20 is less than 15/20. But we can't just leave it like that. Remember, these are our original numbers, so we have to compare using those original numbers. Okay, well I knew that 15/20 was 4 and 3/4. So 4 and 3/4 is larger than 4 and 3/5. And that is what my equation should look like. This is exactly what you guys should have done at those tables with your expo markers with your groups. And this is what it will look like whenever you do it on your problem set today. So you guys will now go into math rotations. Show that you are ready to rotate. You will be working on this concept at teacher table. If you feel like you've got it, You can work ahead. If you feel like you need extra help, the teacher will be around to help you. Hope you guys have a great math block. Show that you're ready to rotate.